Hello. I'm studying game development with you guys. In this video, let's learn the basics of functions and how to create and call functions in Unreal programming. In programming, a function is a group of codes that perform a certain action, and this function has a return type, a function name, parameters, and a body. If we look at them in turn, first, the return type is the part that tells what type of result value this function returns after performing all the steps. If the return type is int, it means that the type of the result returned after this function completes all operations is an integer type. All data types used in Unreal programming can be used as return types. You can also indicate that the function will not return a result value of type void unless there is a need to return a result value after the function finishes its operation. And the function name is used to call this function, and the developer can name it as desired. However, when naming a function, it is recommended that you know what the function is doing by just looking at the name. The parameter part is enclosed in parentheses, and through this part, the variables necessary for the function to operate are received from the outside of the function and can be used inside the function. When the parameter parentheses are empty like this, it means that the function doesn't have a required external variable. When you need to get a variable from the outside and use it, just put the parameter type and name like this. If multiple parameters are required, put a comma at the end and write the type and name of the next parameter. Finally, the body of the function is where you write the code that does what the function actually needs to do. For example, if you implement a function that moves a character to a desired position, the return type will be float to return the remaining distance, and the function name will be move. And the parameter will receive the coordinates of the destination. Then, in the body of the function, whenever the function is called, you will write code that moves the character towards the destination little by little using the movement speed and time and returns the remaining distance. In this way, in programming, a function is a group of operations that can be reused whenever necessary. However, for work efficiency, it is necessary to create and use functions for each required function well. Now, to create a function in Unreal Engine, launch Unreal Engine and create a new project. Let's set the category to Games, and choose a completely empty default template without any other code. And change the project type to C++ and then create the project. When a project is created, a C++ class is created by inheriting the actor class as we learned in the previous video, Introduction to Unreal Programming. For the name of the class, we will use myActor, which is recommended by Unreal Engine as the default. After creating the class, we will go to the header file and declare some variables. Declare total damage as int32 type. Attach a property macro, and put edit anywhere. Blueprint read write. Category equals damage as specifiers. And declare damage time in seconds and damage per second variables as float type and attach a property macro to both. And in damage time in seconds, put a specifier like total damage variable. But in damage per second, I put blueprint read only. Visible anywhere. Transient. Category equals damage as specifiers. Then we go to the constructor function and simply set default values for the variables. However, in the case of the damage per second property, we do not put a default value and leave it as it is. Then, to create a function in the class, you need to go through a two-step process. Function declaration and implementation. To explain in detail, first of all, in the header file, the original form of the function to be newly created in this class should be written and informed. This is called a function declaration. In other words, a function prototype declaration tells this class that such a function exists. You only need to write the return type of the function name, and the parameters, followed by a semicolon. And we need to go to the source file and implement the function. When implementing a function, write the return type and the name of the class that owns this function, then put two colons and write the name of the function. And after writing the parameters, open the curly braces to create the body of the function, and in this body, you need to write the code for the actual function to operate. Now let's create a simple function. First of all, you'll remember that we gave default values to the variables earlier, excluding damage per second. Let's create a function that changes the value of this damage per second variable using the total damage variable and the damage time in seconds variable. In the header file, declare the prototype of the function with the name calculate DPS. Once you have your function prototype, you need to go to the source file and actually implement the function. In the source file, as mentioned before, you can enter the return type, class name, function name, parentheses, and parameters, and form the body of the function with curly braces. In the contents of the function, write code to divide total damage by damage time in seconds and put it in the damage per second variable. After writing the function like this, I want this function to be called automatically at a specific point in time. A good point at that point would be when variables like total damage or damage time in seconds are initialized or changed. In Unreal Engine, the function called when an object's variable is initialized is post_init_properties, and the function called when a variable is modified is post_edit_change_property. Go to AMIActor's header file and write prototypes for both functions. These two functions are inherited from AMIActor's parent class, AActor. So, you need to use the virtual keyword and override keyword to mean that the function of the parent class is overwritten by the child class, AMIActor. After declaring the prototypes of these two functions, you have to go back to the source file and implement the functions. You can write it yourself like the calculate DPS function before, but if you place the cursor on the green underlined function name, press Ctrl. And select create AMIActor.cpp definition in post_init properties, the script editor will write the implementation of the empty function. Does it automatically? The contents of the post_init properties function are written to simply call the super post_init properties function and then call the calculate DPS function. The post_init properties function declared as override in AMIActor is created by overriding post_init properties of the parent class AActor class. So, if post_init properties of the parent class is not called again in the post_init properties function created in AMIActor, the task actually processed in post_init properties of the parent class is not executed, which may cause problems. In case of overriding the function of the parent class in this way, it is recommended to execute the original function of the parent class once by using the super keyword. After writing all the post_init properties functions, write the post_edit_change_property function in the same way. However, in the post_edit_change_property function, I will write so that the calculate DPS function is called before the original post_edit_change_property function. After writing all the code, save the changes and return to the editor to compile the modifications using the Ctrl-Alt-F11 shortcut. After the code is compiled, place the MyActor class in the level and you will see the damage per second calculated and displayed in the details panel. And if you change the values of the total damage property and the damage time in seconds property, you can see that the value of damage per second also changes immediately. In this video, you learned what functions are and how to create and use them in Unreal programming. This video was produced with the donation and watching of the viewers. It was Vers Game Development YouTube. Thank you.